Hey, welcome to another session in Cal's barn. This time I'm actually going to be working on something for the GTO. It'd be the battery tray. I had two parts cars, so the first two cars that I took apart, the battery trays were just gone. So I said, all right, I'm going to have to buy a battery tray. Chances of the other one being any good are pretty slim. So I bought an aftermarket battery tray. Then I got into the third car, took that battery tray out, and it was actually in pretty good condition. It had been coated with some kind of tar type undercoating, real heavy, thick stuff that protected everything except one corner, maybe an inch square or so at one corner. And the reason I'm going to repair the original rather than use the aftermarket part is that the aftermarket part, it'll fit, but it has basically the same shapes and bends and whatever in it, but they're not anywhere near as well defined as they are on the original part. So I'm going to try and fix up the original part. It's 16 gauge, which is a little heavier than I'm used to working with, so I don't know how hard it's going to be for me to get the shape I need, but I'm going to give it a try. So here's a comparison of the original battery tray and the aftermarket battery tray. This part, everything is less well defined on the aftermarket part. There's some little stiffening ribs in here. These are very well defined on this one. The indentation here for this nut, this is kind of just blends down in. The nuts are different. This bend is about the same. These grooves here, you can see they're very well defined in the original. These just kind of come down and I don't know, it's not not very well defined. Same thing along here. This should come up, flatten out, and then come up again to here, which it sort of does, but look at the definition on this one compared, and all the way around. And back here, it actually stops. This blends straight down. I can't tell if it looks like maybe they tried to do that a little bit here, but it's very well defined on this one, not on this one at all. The other thing is on these tabs, they've got stiffening ribs all the way from here up, and these don't have that at all. So I'm going to try and repair this. This is 16 gauge. It is a little bit thin around the edges here because it apparently was not as well protected originally, and then it got tarred or something. It was very well protected here, except this corner is shot. So I'm going to try and repair that corner. That's going to be fun, but that's 16 gauge. I may have to make a metal hammer form on it and then heat the 16 gauge in order to shape it around that. But I'm going to give it a try. All right, I'm not sure how well this is going to work, but here's what I'm going to try. I made this piece quite a while ago. I don't even remember what I made it for, other than I put a piece of sheet metal in here between this piece. This piece sits on top of that. The sheet metal fits in between like that. And I can take a piece of pipe and bend that. And this is just a test. The objective here is to be able to bend a piece of 16 gauge and get this curvature. So I've taken a piece of 1/2 inch pipe that I had. I don't know where I got that. That's 1/2 inch pipe with a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch wall. And ground the end down so that I can hopefully get that curve at the end better. Right now, I just want to see what happens when I try to bend this test piece. See what the shape comes out to be. So, and another fancy tool, but it worked before. Hopefully it'll work again. I need to get some wrenches and tighten that down. Question is, did I get the right size? Yep. That should do it. Let's see what happens. I should probably let it slide through this one side. Let's see what that does. Got to go more. I may not have enough space in there. I think that's my problem. I can't get that all the way down because when I made this, I made it for a smaller diameter pipe. And the problem is that there's not enough room for this to go all the way down. I don't believe. Yeah, it's hanging up on the sides. So I'm going to have to cut that down more, going to be close to those holes in order to use that. And this bottom piece is welded on, so it'd be real hard to modify that one. Hopefully I can get enough extra room by just modifying this one here. Oop, not this one here. All right, looks like that's going to work. I took this bottom piece over and cut it down along this side to add about a 1/16 of an inch. Radius this again, that's about an 1/8 inch radius, although not critical. Probably, yeah, it might be. And then I tried it again, and now where did I put my round piece? Oh, right there. Tried that again, and that now is, this piece is hitting the bottom, so that's as far as it goes. I took it out, checked the depth here, and it is a 1/4 inch. This is 1/2 inch round, so that works out nicely. This also measured 1/4 inch when I looked at the depth on here. So that's what I want to see right there. It looks like a nice fit. The only thing I did when I got done is this surface actually is slightly bent up. In fact, even now it's maybe not far enough, but pretty close. Not much, but it is bent slightly up. So that'll be easy enough to do. Once I get this bend in, I can just stick it in the vise, get the angle I need here. And then what I'm going to have to do is figure out how I get these on the end. So what I do want to try, I'm not sure how successful it's going to be, but I'm going to take this little piece and try bending just the end and see what kind of shape I get. Clamp this down. Since there's very little engagement there, I'll clamp that side down real good and leave this one a little bit free to move. We'll just snug it by hand. All right, let's see what happens. I hate to hold on to that. It's probably going to shock me a bit when I hurt my hand. Yeah. Maybe I can find something to go in there. That's better. I marked the top of this so I could keep it lined up properly. It's an awfully small test piece, but it does radius up here. The only thing I'm going to have to do is, this is kind of a rough finish on here. I'll polish that up a little bit because it is transferring all those scratches over to the new piece. But I think that'll work. That'll come up on this end, and then all I'll have to do is bend flanges up. I think what I'll probably be able to do is bend the flanges up 90 degrees, weld the corner, and sand grind as needed to get the radius on there. All right, I've cut my patch panel a little bigger than I should need, and I've marked where I want this end to be. So that's going to have to sit on there about like that. And that's a square piece, so I'll line the corners up in there. Clamp this side down. That looks pretty good. All right, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's going to take a little more to bend this larger piece. You know, I should probably just put this in my press. I think I'll try that. I could have used a longer piece so it came out here further. Yeah, I think I'm going to take it over and put it in the press. Let's see how that works. All right, we got it in the press. Let's give this a try. Make sure I'm lined up with my marks. Well, I'd like it to go a little bit further down, but I've run into this bottoming on there. So I need to put something in between for a spacer. Let's try this. Hopefully I won't bend this 1/2-inch square tube too much. All right, that's looking pretty good. The only thing is, this radius I put on the end didn't really help much. It's still bent over. When I bend those flanges up, I think that'll take care of it. Well, it's a good thing I left some extra material and double checked. I wasn't paying attention. That is not a 45-degree angle to those sides. So when I put that on there, that's not square. So I'm going to have to move that up, change where I'm bending that, and luckily I have enough left here because I'm really going to try to do it here. There's a step. Not sure how easy it is to see in the video, but there's a step right here and right here. So I'm hoping to go right here around that step. So I should have plenty of material, and I'm going to have to readjust my bend line. And then I'm also going to have to notch this because I can't bend both sides up with all this material in here. I've got to cut that material out so I can bend the sides up, then weld that corner. All right, I'm not sure how well this is going to work because I've never done this before. Not quite like this, and not with 16 gauge. So what I'm going to try and do is clamp this in the vise and straighten this out as I do it. And then bend that over. Same thing on this side. So let's start this out and see what happens. I'm going to have to come out right about there. It's not too bad. Let's see how this one goes. I have to leave it just outside the edge so that this flange won't hit. See if I can flatten that out a little bit more. Boy, that doesn't look like 90. What's going on? I think something slipped when I was doing this side here. I got to bring this in more. Shoot. Well, bending it at this outer edge was a mistake. It made the flange kind of short on that end. I should have continued trying to bend it over in the left-hand side in this video by the 1/2-inch round section, but that was harder to do, so I had taken the easy way out, and that was a minor mistake. Trick I want here is to get that corner right there. I want to be sure that that's bending so the corner is right in the center of this. There we go. That's a decent fit. We need to round that corner just a little bit. Let's get a little dolly for that. It bends good, but I need to pound that one down. I think what I'm going to do is slice that just a little bit more. I'll do that off camera, and then I can fold that in. All right, we got it sliced a little bit. That would have been fine functionally, but I just want it to match up the other three corners. I'll weld that up, clean it up, sandblast it, then cut it to fit in here. And here we go. Got it all welded up, ground it down, smoothed it out. Very carefully did that with a rotary file and sanded that so it looks like it's all one piece. Same thickness all the way around. Happy with the way that turned out. Tomorrow, I'll come back, weld it into the main piece. We'll have to trim it, cut it, get it fitted, and weld it in. Well, I spent about a half an hour trying to get this perfectly lined up, and I was using the magnets. And one of the problems with the magnets, of course, is they stick to the tabletop really well, and they'd often come loose from this because it would stick to the tabletop. So that's why the wood is here. They don't stick to the wood very well. But it just wouldn't work. So I went to something I've done before, and I put masking tape on here. Masking tape tends to stay on. It's not affected by other magnetic things around it. It's not affected by the weight, which these seem to be. The weight of this, it falls off too easily. So another advantage of the masking tape is I can see better where the alignment is good and bad. So I've got real good alignment out here. There's no tape on it, but I've got good alignment here at this corner. And I've got real good alignment around this half-inch drain line, or whatever you want to call it here. And what I'm going to do then is I'm going to weld these two spots, double check this, weld that. Now obviously, when I weld this, I'm going to burn some masking tape. Over here, I don't know if I'll burn that one or not. But anyways, once the tacks are in, I can take the tape off. And same thing here, obviously I have to take the tape off to weld it. But I've not had a problem before with masking tape, and I kind of like that in situations like this. And then once I've got these parts welded that are already in alignment, I'm going to hammer and dolly this, bring this line right here up, and right here I need to take it down a little bit. Once that's welded up, and this is welded up firmly, that shouldn't be a problem. So let me, yeah, go ahead. I'm going to weld that up. Yeah, I had the heat up too high initially. This is thin enough that it was melting right through the original. Well, the backside was lined up pretty well, the inside wasn't. We'll clean that up though. Oh, I forgot about the other piece of tape too. All right, that should hold it. If we're doing a little bumping and hammering down on it. Okay, I took this over to my vise. Not in the vise, but on the vise. Used the anvil part of the vise and body hammer. Got these nicely lined up. Everything's all lined up all the way around so I can finish welding that up. Let me get the welder set up here. The glasses on, the gloves, ground, gas, and a helmet check. It is pretty thin sheet metal here with us in some spots, so I'm going to be careful, just do a spot at a time. Building up too much heat. Heating up some of that tar. I don't want to be breathing that. I have to build a level up in that corner because I burned out the radius that was there. Kind of build up that corner where it was burning this away so that I can have it a straight line there when I'm done. Holding my breath to avoid smelling, breathing the smoke. Don't want to breathe that smoke. So welding was the easy part. Now I got to do the sanding and cleanup, which is the hard part. Takes a lot more finesse doing that than it does the welding. All right, there's the finished welded product and cleaned up. I haven't tried to be 100% perfect since it is going to get painted and undercoated, and that should cover up any of these little small areas that there's a little spot right in there where the weld could have been a little better to come a little further. And on this side, because remember this new metal is thicker than this original, so there's a little step right in there, right in here. But this is the new corner. That's the original corner. Well, almost. There was some holes here that I filled in. But other than that, that's the original. That's the new one. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. So I'm pretty happy with that. Like I say, once it's undercoated, it's going to be pretty hard to tell that that was repaired. Even kept this reinforcing rib here. This is the original. That's the one I repaired, so I stayed away from that. Well, that'll do it for another session in Cal's barn. We got the battery tray repaired, welded up, cleaned up. Not going to bother videoing the final cleanup, repainting, and undercoating of the tray. That doesn't seem worth videotaping. But that's probably one of the very few original, or basically original, battery trays left. Those tended to get destroyed by all the battery acid. So anyways, thanks for watching. Think about hitting that like button, and stay tuned for some more videos on the actual work on the car or parts of the car in the not too distant future.